Welcome tonight to this wonderful and exciting event. It's the International VELUX Award 2014 here in Vienna, and we are very happy to welcome you in this city. Ni hao for our guests from China. Hanseo, Annyeonghaseyo for our Korean friends. God aften for the Danish friends, dobre večer, and buonasera for the Italian friends. Grüß Gott in Wien, herzlich willkommen. We are here in this wonderful space, the Semper Depot. I don't know, it's 140 years of history of this building. Gottfried Semper was the architect of this building. He planned the Imperial Theater in Dresden, and after that he came to Vienna to build the Federal Theater or Imperial Theater on the Ringstrasse. Maybe some of you had the choice today to see a little bit from Vienna. And this place here actually was served as a decoration depot for the State Opera and also for the Federal Theater. And so the decoration was stored here till 1952. It's a building of history, not only because it was built with all the famous buildings of the Ringstrasse, but if you go outside, you see shell marks on the plaster, which is from the Red Army in the Battle of Vienna from 1945. So this is a sad part of Austrian history as well, but we have to mention it. And in 1952, this building lost its use as a decoration depot. And it just stayed empty. Later on, in the 1990s, the Academy of Fine Arts, it's the oldest academy in Europe, took it over, and it's now a lot of places for education for young artists here. And we are very happy to have this exciting event tonight in this building. Maybe for the one who loves Robbie Williams, in 2006 he made his video spot of Laugh, Light, and I think that's a very good thing, laugh and light. This is the motto of the evening of today. Maybe we all laugh daylight. Well, today we have, my name is Volker Dienst. Sorry, I did not introduce myself, but you can see it here, and I will have the honor to be your host. And also, we want to say hello to all the guys who are not able to attend the ceremony here in Vienna, but there is the possibility to have a live stream and to follow the whole ceremony all over the world, so welcome to this nice ceremony. The program of today, you see here we have some introduction. We have a wonderful lecture by Craig Dykers. The ones who were already yesterday at the Academy of Fine Arts know already it was an amazing lecture yesterday you did, Craig, and I'm looking forward what you will tell us today. After that we have the ceremony, the prize ceremony, which you all are already waiting for, I know. And then we make a big photo here all together. So I hope you can enjoy this evening. And because we are in Austria, you know, VELUX Austria got 50 years young, I have to say, not old. And because we are here in Austria, I want to welcome very much Mr. Michael Walcher. He's the general manager of VELUX Austria, and I want to welcome him. Yes.
Yes, good evening. As you can see it here, my name is Michael Walter. I'm the General Manager of VELUX Austria. And my colleagues and I are very proud that this location here in the Semper Depot was chosen for this award. The venue, in my opinion, is well chosen in various aspects because for me personally, because I have very positive memories with this building. I started here, when I started here, close here, there's the Technical University. I had my first class that was mathematics. It was in October, it was dark, it was 8 o'clock in the morning, it was foggy, cold, and the professor was writing all the things on the blackboard and I hardly could understand what he said. So I was really, really frustrated. And then I came out and I discovered this building. And the doors were open and I said, wow, there's something else than mathematics here in Vienna. And my mood improved immediately. So a very nice building just for starting here. Secondly, of course, the relation to Denmark. The Semper Depot, of course, was built by Mr. Semper, but it belongs today to the Academy of Fine Arts. And the academy was built by Theophil Hansen, the Danish famous architect, who built a lot of buildings here in Austria. You know them all, the Stock Exchange, the Parliament, and maybe the most famous one, the Musikverein, the famous venue for the New Year's concert of the Wiener Philharmonics every year. And finally, Volker already said that, it's the 50 years anniversary of VELUX Austria. We became 50 a few weeks ago, as you can see it here. And daylight and fresh air, these were the ingredients for all these years. Experiments were the path to explain daylight over the roof to our customers. Mrs. and Mr. Austria were very happy about that, and they accepted our experiments. Our founder, Mr. Wilhelm Kahn Rasmussen, once said that we are daylight engineers, and he once stated that an experiment is better than thousands of experts' opinions. I am convinced that all participants of the EVA showed a passion for experiments. You should all be proud of them. Besides the passion for experiments, you need a passion for change and a passion for develop new things. A similar passion as Theophil Hansen, who changed the appearance of the inner city of Vienna in an outstanding way. You also need a passion for competition and for team. Without competing, you obviously cannot win. And without a team, it will be difficult to fulfill the requirements of awards or tenders. Within the last 50 years, we carried out a lot of experiments with a passion for daylight, or it is said in our key sentence, we have the passion to bring light to life into our homes. A passion to increase and improve comfort in our homes. Passion showed also our customers, planners, architects, installers, who advised our joint customers ideally and supported us with our experiments. Nowadays, low energy buildings, ecological buildings, healthy buildings, sustainability play a key role over the globe in designing and constructing buildings. Besides that, we observe here in Austria, and not only in Austria, that living space is short, vacant land is hardly available, and affordability becomes more and more important. Thus, it is essential that we activate our living reserves. Rooms under the roof, and not only in urban areas, are perfect to create living spaces. Daylight and daylight of tomorrow will always play a key role and guarantees the required comfort for people who want to live there. Ladies and gentlemen, I now do hope that you feel comfortable with the IFA, comfortable with the jury, with this venue here, with the evening, and of course, hopefully also with VELUX. For the moment, I want to thank you for coming. Thank you, of course, for participating in this award, and thank you for choosing Vienna for this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael Walter, for these welcoming words, and I'm very honored that also the Senior Vice President of the brand VELUX is here. Please welcome with us Mr. Michael Rasmussen. Very welcome to Vienna.
Thank you very much. Dear students of architecture, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the International VELUX Award of 2014. This year marks the 10-year anniversary of the VELUX Award for architectural students. It's been an excellent journey, a fantastic journey. We've been able to follow what's on the hearts and minds of architectural students for a decade, and it's fantastic. And this evening we'll share a little bit of that journey with you, and you will have an opportunity to see what is on the minds and hearts of architectural students today. You know that in the VELUX Group we care a lot about daylight. In fact, our name, VE for ventilation, LUX for light, is what it's all about. And that is on our minds when we get up in the morning and when we go to bed at night. For quite a few years, our vision has been to lead the development of better living environments with daylight and fresh air through the roof. And in order to succeed with that, actually, the architecture plays a key role in scaling our ambitions. Ever since a local Danish architect who was designing the loft room under the pitched roof in a local county school in Denmark commissioned what was to become the first VELUX roof window in 1942. It has been a constant dialogue with architects, even today, when daylight means so much more than simply a functional feature in a building. In fact, our latest product line, which was launched a year and a half ago, the VELUX Modular Skylights, was also developed in close dialogue with architects, Foster & Partners in London. And it is now hopefully making its way into schools, offices, malls, airports all over the world, and we hope to see that in the years to come. Allow me a small sidestep to tell you about something else. That is, if you promise not to tell anybody, because it's an announcement that we will only make on Monday. When we talk about anniversaries, it's not only the VELUX Award that has an anniversary. In a year and a half, the VELUX Group will turn 75 years old. And when we talk about the quest for better living environments, and possibly also what is at our heart as well, our credo, or our mission to be a model company. This mission was formulated in the mid-60s by our founder, that Michael also mentioned. And his ambition was that we should aim to be a model company, working with products that are useful to society and treating our customers, our suppliers, and employees of all categories, and our owners better than most other companies. And since then, we have tried to live up to that. On Monday, we will announce another competition, a design competition, which is made in cooperation with the social company called Little Sun, who counts, among others, the world-famous the world-famous artist Olafur Eliasson. We will announce a competition to design a daylight feature. It's for Africa. Big parts of Africa do not have electric light in their houses. If they have to cook in the evening, it's in the dark or it's the light from the fire. If they have to do homework to get an education and improve the conditions of their families, it has to be during day. That's hard because there's also other tasks and there's maybe a long way to the school. So they need some light for their houses in order to improve their situation. Today, if there is any light, it's probably a kerosene lamp. A kerosene lamp provides a very poor light, and it's smelly, and basically it's quite unhealthy. So we have made a design competition to design a solar lamp which can charge during the day and hopefully shine at night and improve the living conditions of the people having such lamps in Africa. The winning design will be produced, and we will donate the first series of lamps in order to start what hopefully becomes a spiral distribution model so that it can become sustainable and go on by itself with local distributors, typically the women of the local villages that become distributors and sell lamps and come back for more lamps on the profits that they make. We hope that that will be our contribution to create better living environments for somebody who is out of our business area, because clearly this is not a commercial project, but it corresponds very well with our Sustainable Living in Buildings program, which is indeed a commercial program. It's also our contribution to reduce CO2 emissions from buildings and create attractive and healthy living spaces with daylight and natural ventilation. Let me share a few facts with you on that. 40% of all the energy which is consumed in the Western world is consumed by buildings. With one of the experiments that we have done on the thoughts of that's better than 1,000 expert opinions, the Model Home 2020 project, which we have made over the past 6 years. It's 6 different houses built different places in Europe, one of them just west of Vienna, one in Paris, one in Kettering in the UK, and one in Hamburg, a Danish house, and a Danish school building for the University of Copenhagen. What we have demonstrated is that it is possible to make CO2 neutral houses, the houses of tomorrow, you can say, even with the materials of today. Imagine if we could scale that idea, and that is where also architects come in. Imagine if we could scale that and maybe even just eliminate half of the CO2 emissions. That would be a total reduction of CO2 emissions of 20%. That's a big part of the EU long-term commitment to reducing CO2, and we hope to be able to do that. Another fact, which is equally important when we talk about this, is that we, the modern man and women, spend more than 90% of our time indoors. In fact, it is so that maybe a third of the buildings that we are occupied in have maybe not deficient, but at least not optimal indoor climates. And it's posing an increasing problem in terms of asthma and allergies and chronic health diseases. And making buildings more energy effective could put indoor climate even more at risk. As we saw, for instance, also with the oil embargo architecture that came about after the first big oil crisis in the 1970s. There are other solutions with natural ventilation and with daylight. And after all, we must help each other to design buildings for people and not for engineers. So enough about business. We are here tonight to celebrate architecture and the International VELUX Award. We are here to celebrate our fantastic students, and that's what it's going to be about. This competition has been a big success. We've received 802 projects from 54 countries. And, well, in fact, over the last 10 years, we've received around 4,000 projects from 5,000 students of architecture from all over the world. So it's been a fantastic insight into your world. Thank you for that. You're the selected few. You're the ones who stand to win the International VELUX Award 2014. So let's get on with the night. Thank you for sharing our care and attention for daylight in our built environments. And good luck tonight, and also good luck for your future careers as architects. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael Rasmussen. We are here tonight for celebrating architecture, and 802 projects took part on this competition on 54 different countries. So that's really a big, big thing. And it's fantastic that here, all the students are here who are winning something. But we won't say more now. I want to welcome you, Mr. Greg Dykers. He's founding partner of Snøhetta, with offices in Norway, Egypt, England, and the United States. And he's world famous for cycling in Manhattan. No, I'm just joking. For the library in Alexandria, the Alexandria Library in Egypt, the Norwegian National Opera in Oslo, as we heard yesterday, the most sexiest building in Norway at least, maybe in Europe. And currently the National September 11 Memorial Museum Pavilion at the World Trade Center. And the new Times Square reconstruction, and I think we will see maybe some pictures also today about that. Greg Dykers served on the jury for the International VELUX Award already 2004 and in 2014 again. Welcome, Greg Dykers from Snøhetta.
Thank you. I think I have here.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here and a pleasure to talk to you all. It's, of course, an honor to be here as well as the group hosting this competition, VELUX, have given me the privilege once before to speak 10 years ago at, I believe, the first convening of a jury. As I was thinking about giving this talk tonight, I went back and looked at my notes and started to reevaluate what I had said 10 years ago to see if it still had any validity today. And it was very interesting to see also how some of those thoughts that I had have changed over the years. But one thing that I did say 10 years ago, and that I still feel is important, is that when we talk about light, we also talk about dark. The two things are inseparable. When we talk about natural light, we also sometimes need to think about natural dark. Those two worlds somehow cohabitate. And of course, finding balance between light and dark is part of the value that architects and designers can provide for people. So I thought I would share with you just a few moments, some images that might convey some anecdotes about these two worlds of light and dark. Of course, when we talk about light, we often think of the sun. And if I were to ask you to imagine some sort of icon of the sun or fill your mind with a view of the sun, you would likely think of something like this, a kind of giant glowing orb in the sky, and that it would be a natural idea. Of course, we've become accustomed to little cartoons of the sun throughout history, and these little moments of time give us a categorization of the sun that is easy to understand and sometimes even friendly. But of course, the sun isn't exactly this image. The sun itself gives us many gifts. We're a particular distance from the sun that create a year, a cycle of about 365 days that our lives are built around. Any different distance from the sun, we might not have the type of life that we have on this planet. It's a very special zone of life that we inhabit. And because of the distance that we are from the sun, our eyes are adapted in such a way that we can see it move throughout the sky and gauge time. But interestingly, though that moment of time is not just frozen like this. Of course, the sun moves through the sky throughout the day and throughout the seasons. And if we were to hold our mind open long enough, we would not see the sun as a single disk, but as a series of disks changing throughout the day. And if we could imagine that transition through time even further, it becomes an arc through the sky. The sun is not a disk at all. It's a line. It traces a line through the sky. And if we were even still to extend our understanding of time, that arc would shift every single day as our position in reference to the sun changes through the seasons, until the sun would become a giant golden dome over our heads, a beautiful, calm, and exciting and energetic roof over who we are. And that's an interesting way, I think, to imagine the sun, not as this cartoon or as this single moment in time, but as something that truly defines time, not only provides life, but allows us to measure our lives across its presence throughout the seasons and throughout the years. We've become so accustomed to the sun that we often take it for granted, and we often misunderstand what it provides to us. Let's look at the other side of this picture for a moment, the moon. There was a very unusual circumstance I had when I was younger. I was given the opportunity in Texas when I was a young man to meet a few astronauts who had actually traveled to the moon. So I met them for dinner and I was very excited. I was with my family. And I remember sitting across the table and thinking to myself, I can't believe I'm sitting at a table with someone who has been to the moon. And I looked at their face very intently, and I saw kind of a sparkle in their eyes, and I talked to them about their experiences. And one of the things that they said, which was rather astonishing, was that there were many features about daylight that they first noticed, that their first experiences about the moon were not necessarily about the remote mountains and, of course, seeing the Earth in the distance, but about the very unusual quality of daylight. Many of us are accustomed to seeing these photographs taken by the lunar astronauts, but there were many stories that they told that I found really quite fascinating. The first is that all of the photographs that you see from the moon that look black and white, for example, the last picture I showed, this appears to be a black and white photograph. It is not. It's actually a color photograph. And if you look very carefully, you'll see little tints of color on the American flag on the shoulder. But because of the dust and the quality of light, everything appears to be in black and white until you move. And when you move on the surface of the moon, your feet kick up dust, which your electricity of your body attracts. And the dust is composed of very tiny little prisms. And as you walk across the surface of the moon, and this is not a touched-up photograph, this is a real photograph, a color photograph. As you walk across the surface of the moon, you're surrounded by daylight in the midst of darkness. And this was a profound moment for the astronauts, and I remember thinking so carefully about that as they told that story. Oh, something exciting is happening.
Yeah.
There's an arm on my ear. That was good. If you can go lower, if you like.
Of the beard.
I've got a little. Another thing they said, which was really fascinating, was the idea that the ground, which was also made of these small crystals of sort of like little crystals of glass, caused by the meeting of the moon with meteorites. As you walked across the surface of the moon, the light would pass your body and sort of bend into the ground, and your shadow would actually create light. They said they had never experienced that before. You can see that on Earth occasionally, and in fact, as we flew into Vienna the other night, we looked out the window as we were flying through the clouds. The little crystals of light in the clouds, as the light passed around the shadow of the airplane, when you looked at the airplane, there were rings of light around it. It's the same phenomenon. It's very unusual to imagine that shadows can create light. But the last thing they said, which I thought was really wonderful, was that as they looked across the surface of the moon, the sky was pitch black. There was no blue in the sky. It was the same sky we're accustomed to here on Earth that we see at night, except, as you notice in every lunar photograph, there are no stars. There are no stars on the light side of the moon because this is the sunny side of the moon, the equivalent of a daylight in hours on the Earth. When you can't see the stars, all you see is blue. The blue on our planet is made by the water in the atmosphere, but on the moon there is no such matter, so you just get black sky. And they said walking around on the surface of the moon, where you had your shadow like daylight, but above you was this black sky without stars, took a tremendous amount of time to get accustomed to, and they said they never really were able to adjust. And that was the most disorienting feature of light on the moon. So this world of light and dark started to become very intriguing to me. And I think over time, tying this together with the motion of the sun through the day and this rather intense connection that we have with different modes of daylight on Earth are very important factors of who we are as human, because as we look out into space, we recognize that we are, in very many ways, unique on this planet, and one of the most unique features is the quality of light that gives us life. And that quality of light is sensed by our bodies. We don't know it, but we always experience daylight. Our body is registering our relationship to daylight in many different ways. And of course, even if you're blind or have challenges seeing, you still feel light. And the need to sense light throughout your life is one of the most important factors for staying healthy. So daylight isn't just a sustainable issue in terms of energy use. It's also an issue that's important to maintaining health as we move through architecture and through spaces that we create. This was well understood by the ancients, in fact, before there were such things as glass in windows or before there were lights in the ceilings. In some of the really beautiful buildings that you'll find, for example, this Stoa in ancient Greece, this was one of the earliest Western structures for the development of knowledge. It was one of the first library types that we had here in the West. As you walked along this Stoa, you'll see that it's dark on one side and light on the other, and it's a single space. So as you walked along and talked to your friends and discussed things that interested you, you would have shadow to one side and light to the other. And when you got to the end of this, you'd turn around and you would be in exactly the reverse. So your light would be on the dark side and so on. So you would pace up and down this space, feeling the relationship of light to dark change. And that became a value in understanding and developing a network of thinking in these very interesting ancient structures. So we began to work with some of these ideas, sometimes by accident, sometimes planned. Our first commission was the great Library of Alexandria, revival of this library in Egypt. We began this competition, won this competition in 1989. And if you look carefully, you'll see little triangular openings in the roof. All of these are skylights that face north towards the Hellenistic Empire that founded the library from the time of Alexander the Great, but also towards the north light, which is very useful inside of a building. Each of those skylights controls and manages ultraviolet light and allows people to see outside and to sense the changing of light throughout the day. In addition, we created these blue and green glass modules in the ceiling. And as the sun moves through the day, the blue and green light passes across the floor, and if you're sitting in one place long enough, eventually blue or green light will pass over your table or over your book, and you'll sense a change in time. You probably have to take a break or move to get out of its way because it's kind of disturbing at times. So it's a direct connection between the movement of time, the passage of sun, and daylight. We also began to work with similar ideas with the great National Ballet and Opera House in Oslo, where the light and the frames of light were held in place by very solid objects, by the stone platforms that form the roof of this building. And as you move along the building, both in the day and the night, you're given views that are framed by the stone elements that allow you different interpretations of the building and the functions that occur inside. And once you enter the great hall, the opera ballet room of the building, you'll feel light from above coming from the chandelier, which gently allows light to fall on the top of your head and diminishes slowly before the performance to kind of heighten the sense of magic that you might experience. At the World Trade Center site in New York City, we created a museum pavilion for the cultural center that exists on the memorial grounds. And one of the key features of this building is to allow daylight to penetrate deep into the ground where the museum is placed below the surface of the memorial. In addition, we wanted to create a building which expressed itself by the change of light over time, so that as you moved around the building, it would constantly adjust in your perception depending on your relationship to the sun and the surface or the skin of the building. So at different times of day, for example, here you'll find little highlights of light that will appear. Amazingly, this picture, for example, is of the north facade of the building. There's no direct daylight on this facade, yet it creates an enormous presence of light because of the small indentations we've created on the surface of the steel. And so you get the building almost growing light. The way that works, just as an aside, is the theory is very simple to understand. If you take a light bulb and you turn a light on and just have a light bulb, it will make light and you'll kind of get blinded by the light. But if you look around, the room will be pretty dark because not much light is spread. If you take the same light bulb and put a lampshade over it, which is a piece of cloth, you would think that would make less light. But in fact, the cloth distributes the light to a wider area. So the lampshade actually increases the amount of light in a space, not decreases it. And the same is true with this surface. We used the same idea as how we treated the metal to actually kind of allow the light to extend beyond the surface. At times, the metal surface, as it's seen here connecting to the glass of the atrium, reflects in on itself, and you have the building feeling as though it's standing on one little toe, on one little corner on the site. And this picture I find particularly exciting. This is a part of the building which faces the Memorial Plaza. It does face south, but this photograph is taken very early in the morning at about 6:30 in the morning when the sun is just rising over the Atlantic Ocean on the east. East, as you can see in this picture, is to the right because the tree's shadows and that person's shadows are going from right to left. But the light reflection is cutting directly across it because it's capturing the ambient light from the sun that is being reflected off of a nearby building and passing it across the path of the shadow. So it doesn't really make sense. Normally you're accustomed to the light and the shadow moving in the same direction, but here they're moving in two opposite directions, and it's there for about an hour and then it disappears. There are other places like this around the building if you have the chance to visit it. A number of other projects we're working with similar features. Here's a library in Canada, and those blue sort of elements you see are folded metal panels that bring light down to a new plaza we're creating at the entrance. And the white glass that you see there is a fritted panel that diffuses light to the inside of the building so that you get the kind of dappled light you might see adjacent to a tree. This is a rendering of those panels. We also work very carefully to understand how to shape the plaza so that it would acquire the most daylight hours throughout the day to make it more pleasurable for those people that are visiting the building. This is another rendering of the interior of that space. We actually have created the mock-ups for this. We're under construction now, and this building will be finished in the spring of next year. So here you can see these metal panels and the glass panels that manipulate and modulate light as you move into and around the building. This is a detail. Each of these metal panels is one piece of metal which has been folded like origami to create this shape. And that's the last construction photo I have on the left and one of the rendering views on the right. So look for that in a few months. We also finished another project in North Carolina that was really focused on the use of daylight in the library. It's built with a series of fins that modulate the light through the glass. The area is known for its beautiful landscape and weaving rivers, and it also has a history of textiles. So the surface of the building has this soft, almost woven character where the solid and the light work together and create these very soft lines throughout the day and at night hours. And here you can see the building leading towards the entry with a rainwater garden in the foreground. As you enter the building, there's a wonderful sense of daylight to one side, dark on the other, and a bright stair that mimics the daylight that comes in through the windows, and these funny little red chairs in the foreground that people often use. And here is a nice picture showing the daylight passing through the fins in the library. And of course, if you sit there long enough, these light and shadows sculpture will move across the place where you're sitting. You move up the building through a really, really bold yellow space that takes you to a room at the top that leads out to a balcony that overlooks the countryside of North Carolina. So that's a quite fun experience for the students that use this library. We're making the new expansion to the Museum of Modern Art in San Francisco. It's interesting to show a museum in a discussion about light because museum curators often have a challenge with daylight and the use of delicate artworks. So one of the things that we've done was work with the skin of the building, which are these ripples that you see here, so that they will create sort of light and shadow elements and sort of increase your understanding of light even though there aren't very many windows. This was resurrected from an idea of discussion of the Bay of San Francisco and the elements of water, and we created a prototype, as you can see here in scale, and these are actually now under construction, and as the sun moves across each of these panels, the shadows change throughout the day, and that's one of the renderings. And this is also under construction and will be open next year. But more importantly, bringing the sense of natural light into the galleries themselves. This is a rendering. We've had to create this artificially because we can't have direct daylight in some of these spaces, and we've since built a mock-up. So this is a one-to-one model, a full-scale model of that room, and you can see these are actually artificial lights at the top that give the sense of natural light in these spaces to provide more comfort as you move through the gallery spaces. There's a few more little projects I'll end with here very quickly. Just a little lighting project that we did on a river east of Oslo that was helping to better understand the life and activity of the cultural landscape there that was industrial over many years. So we were highlighting that with new light technology. And finally, to conclude, perhaps the place that is known most for light, we are working on the reconstruction of Times Square. So we're the architects in charge of designing and fixing everything between 42nd Street and 47th Street, a place that is known as the River of Light. It's really hard to visit there. We're creating more pedestrian spaces for visitors to Times Square. We're permanently closing Broadway to vehicular traffic so that people can use these spaces rather than cars. Putting all the cars on 7th Avenue. We've been monitoring the life of Times Square, so these red zones indicate the concentrations of the most people. There are 42.5 million people a year that visit Times Square. At certain times of the day, for example, at 45th and Broadway, you can have 7,000 people crossing the street in about a 2-hour period. An intensely used activity. So the red areas on this map is where the people are the most pressurized. So we call this the pissed off map of Times Square. This is where everyone's really angry the most. We also looked at daylight here, and we found these beautiful moments in New York City where the sun lines up just on the avenues and on the cross streets at certain times of the year. Some of you may know of this. In New York City, it's called Manhattanhenge. So it's right when the sun lines up with the streets, and it's an amazing experience. It's the only thing I've ever seen in New York City that gets everyone to stop. Just people stop in their tracks, take photographs, even the cars stop. And so everyone is just holding themselves to this piece of sun diving down into the horizon. So we capitalized on that with some very interesting reflecting elements that allow the sunlight to reflect off of the ground. These little reflectors are placed in certain places along Times Square to create activity on the ground surface without using electricity. Here's the first models that we have made of these very simple reflective elements. They are woven into Times Square, working with both 7th Avenue and Broadway as a geometric pattern that are worked together. So to conclude, I'd like to show you this is where Times Square has been. We hope to turn it into this. There's benches being provided for people to sit, a new way of understanding the lights of Times Square. We're changing it from this to this, much more interactivity with the marquees, and we're doing this all without adding electric light, only creating a natural condition on the ground plane. So the construction's moving on. We should open this in 2016. It should be all finished, I hope, but it's been a rough time for the people there, waiting for this to be finalized. But the construction crew is great, and we have had strangely, every day this man with the aluminum foil comes to see the construction site. So I thought I would conclude with this image because he seems to be a person who is really very concerned about light every day of his life and looking to see how it will perform at Times Square. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg. Well, if you see this funny guy, I think he's interested on reflections. And we are interested not only on the future of light, but also on the future of architecture. So thank you, Greg, for this really interesting lecture. Now it's time to present some prizes, I think. And as you might know, we have 3 prize winners, and we have 9 mentions of the International VELUX Award 2014. And it was elected by a very prominent jury. Greg, you already got known. And I want to welcome now also the other members of the jury. So, besides Greg Dykers, we have Eugene Hennigan. Please come to the stage. Hello. Some words. Eugene is from Ireland. She's founding partner of Hennigan Pank Architects with worldwide activities and renowned for the winning of the world's largest architectural competition for the Grand Egyptian Museum in 2003. Current projects of the practice include the Palestinian Museum on the West Bank of Palestine, the School of Architecture and Library at the University of Greenwich in London, and the Art Storage and Conservation Center in Weimar in Germany. So really international projects, big projects. And Eugene Hennigan served on the jury for the International VELUX Award already on 2006. So you're also experienced. We have just experienced jury members. The next famous member of the jury, Magda Mostafa. Please come to the stage, Magda. Welcome. A few words to Magda. Magda Mostafa from Egypt is Associate Professor of Architecture at the American University in Cairo, as well as she is Associate of Progressive Architects. Her research includes architectural design, as well as special needs for design with the focus on architecture for autism. In 2014, she was given the UEA Architecture for All Research Award for her work. Mustafa is Deputy Vice President for Region 5 in the UNESCO, UEA Education Commission and Validation Council, and has represented UEA on various international competition juries, among them the International VELUX Award 2010. Welcome again. And let me welcome Catherine Slessor from the UK. Please, Catherine, come to the stage. Very welcome. Well, Catherine from the UK, she is editor of the Architectural Review, and we will hear today why this is very important also for this prize. In a long career as an architectural critic and as a writer, she has also contributed to a variety of international architecture and design magazines, among them Architectural Records from the US, Arquitectura Viva in Spain, Architektur from Sweden, De Architect from the Netherlands, and Bauwelt from Germany. She has lectured in the UK, USA, South Africa, Spain, and Argentina, so almost over the world, and has won the International Building Press Award for Architectural Journalism of the Year 3 times already. Catherine is also the editor of the special edition of Architecture Review, presenting the winners and honorable mentions of the International VELUX Award 2014, which will be available here later tonight. Thank you. But last but not least, let me welcome Mr. Per Arnold Andersen. Per, where are you? Here is he.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Well, he's from the VELUX group, the representative for the jury. On the daily basis, he's head of the Knowledge Center for Daylight, Energy and Indoor Climate in the VELUX group. And one of his activities within that métier is to be active in European standardization within light and lighting. Per has been one of the organizers of the International VELUX Award for Students of Architecture since 2004. Before he joined the VELUX group, he worked as practicing architect and planner for more than 20 years with projects in all scales with specific focus on housing resources and ecological approaches in Denmark and in Germany. So these guys met in Copenhagen in June and reviewed 802 projects, so that's really a tough job. And after 2 days, they had 2 days of work, they agreed who's the winner, who are the mentions and awards. But how did they do that? We want to know that from you, Per. Can you tell us something about?
Yes, sure. I'm happy to reveal how it happened. The jury met in Copenhagen on the 16th and 17th June 2014. Craig Dykers was elected chairman and proceeded of the jury's work in a very efficient way and in a very engaged way, as you can imagine after hearing this presentation tonight. The jury was overwhelmed by the number of entries and impressed by the fascinating diversity and wide understanding of light across the globe. The quality of the entries was high, and the students did a great job. Their projects expressed clear concept and ingenuity. The project explored light with innovative and unique methods, inspiring thoughts and perspectives on the topics. Many projects dealt with issues of heritage, public space, as well as issues of social and political unrest. They challenged issues of sustainability, social diversification, very political issues, natural disasters, and wars that affect us all, no matter where we live. The jury applauded entries that went beyond the parameters of design and chose to positively contribute to society. The focus on daylight was introduced into the curriculum in several schools, and many projects dealt with similar programs, themes and locations, and it is really encouraging to see the very active involvement and interaction of the schools and teachers across the continent, and there seem to be no boundaries to student projects today. The jury found a 50-50 split between the strong and fully developed ideas, and others were only partially conceived. This is, however, healthy and natural, since many students are young, and this might be their first experience of testing, learning, and communicating with a certain allowed naivety and innocence. It takes a lifetime to understand how light affects us. So for these projects, it's more about experimenting with light. And the jury found valuable insights in all the submissions, and all the projects were looked over at least twice in the process. The winning projects stood out and were so complex that the jury had to debate their relevance and evaluate them several times. They dealt not only with aesthetic qualities of light, but tied the functionality of light with purposes beyond what light is ordinarily providing in terms of use and comfort. They pooled the political aspects, challenging situations and social discussions into their work with light. The projects were very well researched and very well documented and beautifully rendered. Each of them had a delicate beauty that was rare and subtle. After reviewing these 802 submitted projects, the jury agreed on selecting a first prize winner, a second prize winner, and one third prize winner, 2 special mentions, and 7 honorable mentions. And now I think it's time to reveal who are the winners. Thank you.
Okay, now it's time for starting with the honorable mentions. Catherine, would you? Yes, we will see. Just take place. Fun? Sure.
Can you hear me? Great. The first honourable mention is light memory of war wounds. The war in Iraq broke out in 2003, and the people who suffered the most from the war were the citizens of Iraq with no arms at all.
Every year, more than 50,000 people die from war. Baghdad is one of the most typical cities where the residents suffer from these conflicts. Many local residents fled to other parts of the country, but when they came back, all the homes are in ruins, where the memories are still stored on the site. The anti-war movement gave us the inspiration to turn the remaining houses into memorials. We designed a kind of flower of light which could be plugged into the bullet holes. People are encouraged to add the flowers and touch them softly to commemorate those who suffered in the war. The light effects change beautifully from direct to diffuse, just like soothing the wounds. Heal the world and make it a better place.
I'm Huang Haiyang.
I am Min Jiajian.
I'm Bai Jiachen.
We are from Tsinghua University.
So the students are Wang Huaiyang, Bai Jiangchen, Ming Jiangjiang, and the teacher Hu Wang, and they're from Tsinghua University in China. Congratulations.
So, stay for the picture. Just smile. Okay. Congratulations. Oh. Yeah, Shin, you're the next one. Sorry. The next honorable mentions.
The second honorable mention is stretching sunlight. The project works with traditional Chinese paper cut. By cutting, pulling, and winding a piece of paper, it can be transformed into a three-dimensional garland. The technique is transferred to a large-scale curtain-like experience that enables people to relate to and interact with openings through a simple fixed spiral system. It's a wonderful project with a lot of exploration of details and tries to personalize daylight experiences and preferences. The jury applauds the simple idea and the sober investigations of the models. In addition, it presents a shading solution with a random screen that is not based on sophisticated automation and sensors. And I think now, are we going to see you? Sha, Sija Li, and Wei Wang, and the teacher Yang Yong from Heilongjiang University, China. Forgive the pronunciation. Congratulations.
Stay for, for the picture in the middle, please. Okay.
So the next honorable mention I'm personally very happy to announce because it's from some fellow Canadians. The project's called Northern Lights, and in Northern Canada, ice fishing is a very popular pastime where individuals or groups of people sit out on the lake for hours in an attempt to catch the fish below several meters of ice. The project is a translucent ice hut that blends into the landscape during the daytime. When inside, you witness the walls being lit by sunlight, while at night it radiates light to elude the northern lights. The project really was in a category of its own. It was recognized by the jury by its thorough consideration and specifically for the work on a full-scale model, which was one of the few full-scale built constructed models that we saw among the entries. Some of the details and, of course, and the solutions to them perhaps we can discuss with the students later, but the project was so interesting that it was really appreciated by the jury. So I'd like to call to the stage Jeremy Upward, Catherine Morowitz, Jessica Lamb, Samantha Clark, Savik Patel, and their teacher Tammy Geber. Congratulations.
Should I use the microphone, or is this one? This one is functioning. Great. Thank you. The next project that has won an honorable mention is called Social Light, and that's a pun because it's spelled L-I-G-H-T. I'm going to go a little off script because the project deals with an interesting fact of society that we're all contending with. If I were to ask any of you in the audience if you feel you're addicted to anything, most of you would probably say no. But then if I said, how many of you have a mobile phone in your pocket? Probably all of you do. This is the thing that we're addicted to today. I believe we check our mobile phones about 277 times a day. That's how addicted we are to our telephones. And this project is starting to work with that idea. Streets, alleys, squares, every place where we live is unique when we think of color and light. This project suggests a social network where daylight conditions are recorded and shared over time using smartphone pictures that are recognized by time, day, exact position, and weather conditions. The social network, or the socialite, will describe the detailed colors of the cities in all seasons and weather conditions on the telephone. The project represents a simple and well-communicated idea that may grow to a wider interaction and facilitate exciting dialogue between people in the city with fresh eyes, discussing and sharing experiences on how daylight conditions can change the appearance of specific buildings and squares over time and across the seasons. And here's their film. Cristiana Brindisi, and the teacher is Francesco Leccese from the Università di Pisa in Italia. Grazie mille. Congratulations. Congratulations.
The next honourable mention is the Body Architectonic. The project offers a proposal for a future health cluster in East London, where a range of health professionals will work together. The project looks at future forms of therapy environments that are based on a variety of light and water situations that are favourable when it comes to regaining health. The project brings back focus on water and light therapy, recognised for centuries, and in this case reintroduced with luminous squares, hot water passages, daylight pools and light walls. The project recognises the importance of daylight and health in a very elaborate way with investigations in plans and sections. We'll see the film now. The winning student is Leah Olsen, but she is not here tonight. So to collect the award on her behalf, there's Mick Shu Rasmussen.
And the next honourable mention is diving lights. Many historical sites have been abandoned, flooded by water. The project looks at the opportunity to expose the remains of the ancient Thracian capital, Savtopolis, which is hidden under the waters of a lake. Hollow cones, like funnels with sets of magnifying lenses, are submerged into the water and serve as spotlights. The project presents a wonderful idea. It will not change the world, but is a practical and workable solution for illuminating zones underwater with natural light and revealing historical architecture with the sun's rays. The jury was intrigued by the idea and by the powerful and very poetic presentation. Students are Vladimir Krastov, Stoichostov, and teacher is Zetimir. Oh dear. I'm sorry. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Our next project is called Sfumato of Light. Sfumato comes from the Italian word sfumare and means to tone down or to evaporate. And the project's idea was very interesting because it dealt with an unusual building material, historically perhaps not so unusual, but in our contemporary world it's very unusual. It was to create a sfumato of light by using the reflection and diffusion from salt crystals to create bright spaces. The project resides on the side of the Lancang River in Tibet, where salt is still produced in the ancient and traditional way. The project investigates how salt brine leaks and grows under wood planks during production and how the droplets can be reinforced by these cotton threads and create a crystalline kind of curtain. This curtain reflects and diffuses the light in a beautiful way and brings light into the shed below the salt production area, using materials and low-tech solutions in a way that we hadn't seen before. So the students are Ping Zhu, Yapeng Zhang, Qingjung Zhang, Tingyang Lu, Bonan Zhang, and the teacher Zinon Zhang from Tianjin University. Congratulations.
First, but yeah.
Okay, now we come to the special mentions. So we come closer and closer to the prizes, but we have two special mentions, and Craig will start with the special mention number 1.
Thank you. This is the first of the special mentions we'll present. It's actually a project called the Dancing of Light. Perhaps many of you have had the sensation of feeling the warmth of sun on your skin and almost feeling that it creates a kind of blanket of light around you, and this project very much deals with that. The project works with a meditative space and a spatial ambience that's created by light reflected in semi-transparent cocoon-shaped structures. Each cocoon has its own direction reflecting the light underneath. Light and shadow changes over time as if the space is breathing slowly due to the action of light. Traditional Chinese rice paper is used as the light reflective material in the cocoon-shaped structure. The characteristic of this paper is distinctive texture and translucency. The project is very sophisticated in its presentation, and the students have worked successfully with scale models. It is a purely meditative project that works with the phenomenal experience of light and shadow. The jury could have wished that the project had shown more engagement in the world around it, but it definitely created an important discussion for all of us on the jury. The students all break protocol and say their names first before they show the film so that you can hear them. Zhang Yu Cheng, Jackie Liang, Shong Yong, Zhao Qi Ge, He Huang, and the teacher is Gong Dong from Tsinghua University in China. The film, please. Xie xie. Congratulations. I think we have some plaques. There's one for you. Thank you. One for you. And one for you. Thank you.
The second special jury mention is Dyeing the Sunshine, a project for the city of Fez in Morocco. The old city of Fez is on the World Heritage List. It's been on the World Heritage List since 1981 for its thousands of years of culture and its site-specific leather industry. The dye factory is not accessible now to the public, and the idea of this project is to replace the bottom of each dye vat with a transparent surface so that sunshine can penetrate into a new underground space where visitors will experience colourful columns of light. At night, the lights penetrate the vats from beneath, and the leather factory is illuminated in a rainbow of colour. The project is honoured for its reuse of existing structures, as well as a conceptual and colourful idea. It is nicely articulated, an unusual example of how to use well-known historical sites and create new public spaces in a creative way. The jury would have appreciated a few more considerations around the actual making, but as a student project, it has amazing qualities. The students are Sun Erqi, Yu Xiao, Han Shilin, teachers Zhen Jing, Zhang Jinan, and Hu Yikei, and they're from Tianjin University in Beijing, China. And we'll now see their film.
1, 2, 3, 4. Sunshine, I'd really like to tell you, oh my sunshine, even though your skies are blue, you're drying up my bed. How can I get any rest now? Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la. Someday you will get the best of me, oh. Someday, probably when I'm old and gray, I'm lying in my bed, and I will soon be put to rest now. Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la. like to tell you, oh my sunshine, even though your skies.
So, who wasn't at the stage yet? Well, probably you will be one of the prizes. And Rosin, maybe you start with prize number 3.
Prize number 3 is Light of Hope. At least 35 million people in the world are either temporarily or permanently exiled from their homes. And there are now more refugees or internally displaced people than at any time since 1994. With the crisis in Syria, there are 600,000 Syrian refugees in Jordan, and Zaatari is now the second largest refugee camp in the world, with a population of around 160,000. The camp is overcrowded and poses threats to health, sanitation, and security of all who live there. Street lights are not usually one of the priorities, even though lighting could make it safer, particularly for women and children living in the camp to leave their tents during the evening. The idea of the project is to bring safety and beauty into the lives of the unfortunate refugees through the use of natural light by making spatial lightweight nets treated with photoluminizing powder charged in sunlight, which allows them to glow during the night. During the daytime, the net will provide shelter from the strong sunlight. The project deals with a serious topic that we should all be concerned with in today's world. A practical, rather simple solution can improve the quality of daily life as well as provide security. The students have thought of the conditions in refugee camps and how to address the challenges, which is not an easy task. They applied a technology that is plausible, even though the jury discussed it. As the jury discussed it, it was considered whether it could be cheap or would have any environmental concerns. The project is awarded for its strong idea and the extraordinary and poetic presentation that can only affect us all. The students are Snezina Alexieva, Zenia Atanasova, Stamira Ivanova, and Pavel Sochev. And teacher is Plamen Bradkov.
الساعة سوريا خطر كثير. بدي أرجع دارنا على قريتنا أنخل لحد ما أعطي قريته. أنا تركت ما في قذاف هسه الله أعرف شو فيها.
يلا يا عبد الله انزل. انزل يا عبد الله. انزل.
Okay, so I now have the privilege of announcing the second prize, which by default is an announcement of the first prize. Sorry, Craig. This second prize project was actually stirred a very passionate discussion amongst us as jury members, and it was a very moving project. And it reflected on three key concepts: the natural phenomena of the morning glory cloud, and also, similar to the Zatari project that we just saw, this issue of social political unrest and how light can address these types of conflicts. And finally, and I think this is very important, it discussed the concept of the power of light to tell a story, which is a lot of what we saw in Craig's work and what he presented earlier. So the project reflects on how daylight can contribute to the unification of Korea. The Korean demilitarized zone is the strip of land running across the peninsula, serving as a buffer zone between North and South Korea. The existing demarcation line with barbed wire entanglement is not accessible. So consequently, the borderline is more psychological than an actual physical barrier. The design's concept of an architectural borderline is inspired by the morning glory cloud concept, which is a rare meteorological phenomena occasionally observed in the morning for a few moments with clouds hovering close to the landscape. When heated by the sun, warm modules of balloons will rise into the sky and create shadow at sunrise. After sunset, they are brought down and start to illuminate the surroundings, charged by the sun during the day. Light and shadow created in the process serve as a new barrier that stimulates us to think about the meanings of borders and the hopes that they will disappear through something as intangible and as beautiful as light. With this story, the students want to tell us a metaphoric story, a story about awareness through light, connecting light to air in an ephemeral way, as well as how to tie fantasy to the real world. And it is even told with a little bit of humor. The project is incredibly exemplary and poetic as well, as it is impressively presented. It is fantastic in the best sense, animating a demilitarized zone as an artificial cloud. It is an extraordinary knockabout that the jury did not see in other projects, making us all seriously realize that this is a border in a very contentious part of the world. The project articulates the political and physical boundary in a way that is playful, but also with a serious undercurrent. It uses technology in an interesting way and wants to make a wider political point. The students are Yai Bang Jung, Ken Young Lim, the teacher Hee-jun Wang from Hanyang University and Hongik University from the Republic of Korea. Congratulations.
One team is left. So Craig, please, who is the winner?
Thank you. It's a great honor and a privilege to present the first prize for the 2014 International VELUX Award on behalf of all of the jury. Before we talk about their project, perhaps it's a great moment just to introduce them. They're a great team: Du Dikong, Li Lie, Zhu Yujing, Ma Yao, and the teachers Zhang Qin and Zhu Rong from Tsinghua University. So speaking on behalf of everybody from the jury, I'd like to say Ren Xi Ni Wo Hen Hao. Thank you. The first prize project is called Light Revitalization, and it has a very interesting and valuable and very subtle purpose that in the end is quite powerful. It was a project that many of us perhaps overlooked, and I did certainly, and it grew on the jury over time and became one of the more powerful discussions that we had. The network of hutongs, which is a sort of little villages in Beijing, used to stretch into the neighborhoods close to the Forbidden City. The original neighborhoods are now transforming into more homogeneous areas, and contact to nature is now being lost. Perhaps some of you have been to some of these places on your trips to Beijing. The project's idea is to reconnect to nature and the 24 solar terms that used to be agricultural guidelines in the ancient times, when people could define time and season by the position of the sun overhead. By constructing an overhang with a varied system of grills, the solar terms, once understood in ancient times, can be introduced again into contemporary society. During the different moments of a day, the slight variations and the positions and incident angle of the grills will create light stripes that will gradually transform into an oval at midday. The shape of the oval will change with the days passing. As an example, during the grain rain, the 6th solar term on the 19th of April, only at noon, a perfect circle will occur on the wall and will relate a modern equivalent of a moon gate connecting light to history. 24 stages in the hutongs are selected to recall the relationship between light and time, becoming the gathering point of daily life and light. The first prize winner did everything the jury was looking for. The graphic communication was beautiful. The students really understood how light moves through the seasons and through times of the day, considering how light can capture and manipulate and even freeze certain points and places in time. The students used the idea of space, time, and light and connected them in a way that we have now forgotten, reconnecting the passage of time and how light can be used as a cultural signifier and a cultural hub during the day. It's a very mature project, and the students have managed to create something entirely plausible and feasible, tying together old Chinese traditions and new ways of looking at these traditions. The scheme demonstrates a deep understanding of the role of daylight on a scale of a city, on a social scale, and on a cultural scale. And it's hoped, I suppose, in this way, that this simple use of daylight will draw people to these hutongs in a way that will protect and preserve these very important parts of world heritage. The film, please. Thank you. The winners, please. Xie xie. Xie xie. Xie xie. Xie xie. Congratulations. Should we have the other jurors with us?
The jury,
We'll take one more picture.
the whole jury, of course.
We'll stand behind you. It's good. Thank you. This way.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Congratulations.
All right.
You please stay
Stay
near
here,
because
okay.
we make the
Right.
big pictures.
All right.
What a great evening. We saw that light can give hope to refugees from Syria. We saw a project making peace between or unify between North and South Korea. So you see, a lot is possible with light and with great ideas. And what I liked most is that architecture is not just about function and about construction, but it concerns our hearts. And it needs also a political approach. And I thank you very much for this fantastic project, all of you. I think it's really fantastic to see that. And to end with the song Robbie Williams made here the video, he says, "Do it again." And so I hope you will do it again. It's much more projects than we saw today. Thank you very much. I also want to mention for the audience that all the videos you saw today were made by the students by themselves, and I think that's also a fantastic way to communicate architecture and to communicate ideas with these videos. Thank you very much. If you want to see more about the projects, there is an exhibition in the first floor, so you can get up and then have a look to the projects, and I'm sure during this evening there will be the possibility to make a talk to one or two of the project owners or to hear more about their ideas and what's standing behind. I think also that if you want to read something about this project, you can take them home today in the architectural review. You will find it, I think, at the back of the space. So you just take one of the architectural reviews with you. They are available tonight, but as well they are distributed in the issue in November. So a lot of people will read and see your wonderful projects. I think that's also a wonderful idea of VELUX to distribute ideas to a wider public. I would now, it's nearly time for partying, but I would like to ask all the winners come here to the stage. We want to make a big picture, the whole community of the winners, together with the jury. And afterwards, for the members of the press and the media, we will have at the back room over there a short press conference for the press. And all the rest of you just enjoy this evening, have a wonderful party, enjoy this space here in Vienna, and I hope we will have maybe another award soon. Thank you very much.